Gamers, you know what time it is. We are back and we are at it again. Overpowered FTM hand in hand, bringing you another tournament. I'm so happy to see you all here, but even happier, I'm happy that I'm not doing it alone. To one side, I got Cordy. To the other, I got JellyKnees. Both of these guys absolutely huge in the community. I'm gonna pass it off to them real quick. But as always, you know it's gonna be me, Ego, here rocking with you with the casting, with the setup. However, Cordy, let the people know in case they don't.
What's up, everybody? My name is Cordy. Stream a lot on Paragon, make some YouTube content. We got a podcast coming up. Super excited about that podcast, man.
Oh
It's
my God,
my
we
newest
do.
baby right there. Is that gonna be that podcast? I'm excited.
Oh, baby. And to the other side, guys, you know him. You've been ganked by his Kalari. You quite literally never saw it coming. With us today in the casting booth, it is going to be JellyKnees. Let the people know, man, in case they don't already.
What's up, guys? It's me, JellyKnees, and I'm so excited to be here with the Overpowered crew and bring on the T-On Invitational. I mean, we're so excited putting this together for the last few weeks. Super great. I love it. I make YouTube content. I stream a little bit here and there, and I'm really excited to be here. And yeah, I bring back my Kalari double jump, and I'll gank a lot more times, so it's fine.
Yeah, buddy. All right, guys. In case you have not already checked these guys out, exclamation point Cordy, exclamation point Jelly. If you're looking to get in contact with these guys' socials as well as their platforms in which they're creating some of the best content this community has to offer. And as we are going to be getting ready to get into game one, we're going to do a little bit of chatting beforehand, and you guys know who we're bringing to the lineup today. It is going to be game one, Honolulu versus Microcosm. Both of these teams have some astounding players. However, on one side, there's a player that is on everybody's lips, always being talked about, as he has brought a lot of attention and wins to this team, one of which being that Nickelarn Open Invitational. Conte. Guys, we're familiar. We know what he's going to be bringing out of the jungle on a lot of very versatile picks. We've seen him run the Sevarog, Sereth, Kwong in a lot of instances, and one thing this team doesn't do is drop the lead if they get it. And Conte, I mean, he's amazing at getting it. Guys, let me know here, Cordy, some of your thoughts on this team in Honolulu.
Yeah, so it is for people that don't know. It is a kind of reformed team. It's a mix of NGB, nice game balance from the Nickelarn tourney, and a mix of the Conte friends or Honolulu. So we got Finner joining and Sparrow only Finner, aka B certified. Those guys are joining this comp. So two really good players joining this team, making this team kind of a super team for the EU, right? But even though there's the super team, it just kind of really depends on how they mesh together. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Conte really shows in his jungle that he will find the lead wherever it exists. That he'll take the inch that you're giving him and turn it into a mile for his team. And he's showed that in every game he's played before. And I believe we're going to see the same thing out of him today for sure.
Oh man, I gotta agree with both of your guys' takes here. And on the other side of the team, on the other side of the bracket really as well, is going to be Microcosm. I'm seeing it in the chat already. The DK Royal love, the Bash and Snugs love, guys. Microcosm fans are coming out today, looking for their team to get a dub. Let's go. But a couple players I want to highlight here as we're going to get in. We know Bash and Snugs very good. DK Royal, a really solid carry here, which this team is going to need lining up against Sparrow, only having made it to the semifinals of the Nickelarn Invitational. But another highlight player is going to be the captain of this crew, Skulo, coming out of the solo lane. From what we know him primarily, one of them, I'd say more formidable forces in not only the league, but in the competitive scene. We know he's going to bring you consistency. We know we're going to get very good engages out of him. And we know we're going to get a hell of a good game out of these two teams. Can I get your guys' take here on the Microcosm roster?
Yeah, I'll go first. So a lot of these guys, we haven't seen a lot of them playing well together. It's kind of a newer people as well. But we have seen them in the queues a lot. These guys play a lot. They play often. So it's good to see, really great individual players, but see if they can come together as a newer team, and then see if they can take over consider the best team in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen DK Royal come in and play before on a competitive scene, and the guy just pulls ahead no matter what he needs to do. His team needs him to thrive. He will thrive, and so I'm really excited to see how this whole team comes together around that.
Oh man, and for those who do not know, I mean, it's in the title, but let's set the stakes a little bit. 8 teams. That's a lot of players. However, there can only be one winner, and that one winner is going to be taking home 100 Kima per player, but even bigger than that, $1,000 to the winner here of the T-On Invitational. That's a lot of new skins if you look at it here, gamers. You know, the Riz is what really matters in these competitions. However, as we are now looking to start and get into the game, we're going to do one last check-in and a message here coming from either Jelly or Cordy to our players to make sure they are ready. And as they respond, guys, it's going to be time to start Game 1, FTM, Overpowered, Jelly, Cordy, and Ego. It's going to be the T-On Invitational. We got the poll up, and I got a question for all the gamers. I ask it every single time. Who do you got? I'm going to need to see it in those predictions. Don't be scared to let it loose, as we are now going to be making our way into the drafting phase of Game 1.
I think we're seeing a lot of fans coming out here for Honolulu. I mean, we're seeing the points come through, 81,000 points for Honolulu. They pulled ahead definitely in this poll in the chat, and so I'm excited to see where the fans lie on both sides.
Yeah, they're the fan favorites. Like, historically, they've been the top team in the league. So man.
They're just so potent, right? And we talked about it previously. If they have the lead, they're not dropping it. Like, you are going to have to just deal with the fact that, okay, they're ahead, and that's something we're going to have to deal with and kind of scale ourselves to the late game to try to contest. However, onto the other side, one thing that I remember a lot about Microcosm is they've never been the type to back down. If you have a lead on them, that's cool. They're looking to the late game at that point. And the one thing that is guaranteed in every game is going to be the early, where they always try to be the most impactful. And at times when it does go off, they're able to develop a lead that they're going to be able to extend in order to kind of snowball into you and apply a lot of pressure. But sometimes those wild strats, those attempts, they can be dropped. And in those instances, it becomes a lot harder, a lot tighter to try to develop that lead, as we're going to see a ban of Revenant here.
Yeah, like I said before, I think Revenant and Adele might be the top two to ban here. We might see a Severock ban, maybe even a pickup, since they are going to be the first pick. That's Microcosm. So we might see a Wukong ban. Interesting.
Ooh.
That's definitely a little bit of a spicy ban there. I don't think Wukong's the strongest character in terms of competitive play. I think Adele would have been a much better ban. We see her first picked here as well, because she just becomes the tank's tank, that she can do everything she wants to do while still dealing damage when you get to that super late game. And I think she's going to be really strong for their team.
I have to completely agree with you there, man. However, I do know one tactic that this team has done before is intentionally doing throwaway bans that they know aren't going to be that impactful to open up. Hey, we got the first pick. There's going to be a second and third that's going to be prioritized that are going to be good players and good characters, but we are now also going to have the option of picking up other strong stuff in favor of us, as we are going to see on the other side from Honolulu. It is going to be the combination of Muriel as well as that Wraith lock, and Wraith been so potent, not only the Nicolorn, but also in the Ranger open, and as well as the OPL itself, with the poke that is going to be able to get dealt out. If you do not have a healer on your team to help you sustain through it, it's going to force a lot of backs, and then that econ just gets gradually worse and worse until the team fight phase rolls around. And the next thing you know, you're 2 levels behind, despite not even getting killed out of lane that frequently, but getting poked out of it instead. Cordy, I gotta ask you, man, do you think, though, this Wraith is worth those first 2 picks?
Not first 2. I don't see the enemy team ever picking up a Wraith. And I was kind of questioning where it's going to go. If it's going to go mid or ADC, it looks like it's going to be a mid Wraith, which is clearly it's not going to be the best. So if you can have like someone who can match his like clear a lot better than he can, and someone who has a very small character model to stay behind those minions so you don't get poked out so easily. Like a Gideon. Gideon's not too bad against a Wraith.
Yeah, buddy. And, Gideon also, a lot of team fights set up here. And as we are now coming to the conclusion of the drafting phase, giving all the gamers a heads up, it is going to be me and Jelly casting this first match. Cordy getting a little bit of a break here but he's going to be here with us for the post-game analysis, as well as the bit of in-between time we have. Jelly, pivot over to you here before we hop into this game. What are you thinking about these 2 drafts?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is we were looking at it beforehand, and DK Royal, or on Microcosm side, getting that Drongo, I think is going to be very powerful for them. that they're going to be able to take that and move a little bit forward. And the Wukong ban, again, we talked about not being a bit of a throwaway, but I'm curious to see where these selections come from both of these teams and how they work together. Kwang, I think, is going to be a great pick for Honolulu side. We've got Aurora in the off lane, which is going to be another solid controlling off laner that we're going to have going into the late game. So there's definitely a lot of interesting options going out for these players.
Yeah, buddy. And guys, it's about that time. T-On Invitational, Cordy. We will see you soon, as we are now going to make our way into game 1, Honolulu Microcosm. And I'm going to ask you right off the rip here, Jelly, as these teams are just waiting at the bit to be able to get out of those towers and get themselves organized and ready for this game 1. Out of both of these teams, which character on both teams do you think has to come up and be the most impactful in order to develop an early lead?
I think we definitely need to see a lot out of Honolulu Sparrow here. That Sparrow is definitely a scaling carry in comparison to the Microcosm side of things. So she's going to need to be able to stick around, get a lot of that farm, and start that scaling process for herself so she can go into this late game to deal with things like Adele and Grux in this late game. She'll need to really be up and up on that farm level, on that XP, making sure she's getting everything she can to be as powerful as she can.
Yeah, man, I have to agree with you 100% there. And, you know, there's a saying that we say over on this part of the competitive scene, and that is that Sparrow, she's going to scale indefinitely. You know, once she's getting that gold, when she's going to be able to get kills and lock down objectives with their teams on these rotations, if you let her eat, there's no point in which she never gets full. This character seems to just be infinitely good, man. And as we are going to see the mid lanes now meeting, it's going to be a leashing from both teams before the duo lanes are going to make their way to their own lanes, forfeiting a little bit of CS to make sure that their junglers have the opportunity to maintain some degree of a lead here. Sparrow only being matched up here against DK Royal. And as far as poke goes, I have to give the advantage over to this team in Microcosm, already looking to get a little bit active here on the boards and poke down this Muriel to some degree. However, Sparrow as well is going to have a degree of poke on herself, and one thing that they don't have with this Decker pick is going to be sustain, as we are going to see a fight here within the jungle. A little bit of a skirmish with Kwang on the back tail. Is going to be an initiation here onto HB12. Conte looking to get a big dragon to get some damage across, but it's going to be the first blood going over to Asian Zeus, as Conte is going to take a tower shot and not the secondary life here of the mid laner, as DK Royal is going to be forced to play a little bit back.
Absolutely, and we saw the Wraith there doing exactly what we want to see Wraith doing. He was poking the Gideon out, making sure that even when this fight is breaking out between Kwang and Grux, that Gideon can't walk forward without risking his own life, which allows for the 2v1 on the Grux in that mid lane, which was just perfect for them.
100%, and I mean, this is the start of it, right? You got to kill on the mid lane. Now you're a level behind. HB12 is going to be catching an invade here, and his Gideon is going to be forced to retreat. So with the rotation, it is going to be a secondary kill here within the first 3 minutes of the game, as it's going to be the combination of Conte as well as Jay on their comfort picks, who we talked about previously, see some degree of advantage, some degree of a lead, and already are going to be pressing it. Hey, man, I got the kill on you on rotation. And you know what that means? That means that buff is forfeit. And with the Gideon here and DK Royal being so low, there's no real chance to contest, as we are going to see within the side lanes. It is going to be relatively even as far as the CS in combination with pressure goes for the duo lanes. Taking a moment to look at these karmas, Jelly. I mean, we knew it was going to be used, but did we know it was going to be used that much? That is going to be 3 protection karmas on this side of Honolulu.
Yeah, absolutely. Protection is definitely showing to be wow. In the duel lane, we saw Sparrow pick up a kill on the Decker there. Actually, incredible work that they pushed forward, took their advantage with that Muriel stun and got the kill on Decker, which was fantastic as well. Going back to the karmas though, Guardian is proving to be one of the more powerful karmas for the defensive side of things. I mean, we've seen Pain definitely come through in the ranks as well, but Guardian being the answer to that to some extent has definitely been showing up more and more in these games.
Yeah, man, it's so good, right? Because, you know, there's the argument to make about what is it? Revitalize, the karma that is going to be restoring you a combination of both health as well as mana at this point after the buffs on a relatively low cooldown. But in response to that, that item can be pained, that healing can be reduced by 70% here, as we are now going to see. It's going to be Jay here in the mid lane, applying pressure. We do know the rewind is going to be up, as Grux is going to be looking to show a little bit of face. Level 3, though, very much so behind as Conte is going to be maintaining a level 5.
We're seeing a fight breakout, actually. We're seeing that the Drongo's about to go down, goes down to Sparrow, or goes down to Muriel, my apologies, and then Decker's getting pushed back under her tower by both the Sparrow and Muriel as well.
Oh, and the stun into the poke. Is it going to be a kill? And with the use of recovery, it is going to be Random's life that does get spared there. Very good call there from you, Jelly, as now with this into the game, level 3, a large turning point for the Sparrow, having access to all of their abilities, is going to be able to apply a lot of pressure, as we do see that they also took and opted to upgrade their poke primarily here. Very aware of the matchup and very aware that this enemy team does not have the pressure with poke damage that they have, with the exception of the Decker, which still requires them to close some degree of space, as we are now going to see, looking at the board, that is going to be Conte, who hits level 6 first, building into the subsidiary version of Mask, but not in its entirety, and now building into what I have to assume is going to be Mutant Poe on the boards, as it is now going to be Spirit that has come up, and a Wind Spirit nonetheless, offering 4% attack speed, 4% movement speed, and 4% CDR. That's cooldown reduction for those who do not know, to any team that takes it, and each of those are going to stack for every time it falls. Both teams, though, very aware that this objective is up, are now going to be looking to make their way over to it. The yellow portal not quite up, meaning the Aurora is not going to be present for this, lending some degree of advantage for Microcosm, as it looks like it may be a 5v4. However, with the Wind Spirit falling relatively quickly, they may not have the time for an engage. It is going to be a slow push, as they are now instead going to be calling for a disengage and likely an objective trade of the Guardling instead of that Wind Spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. We're definitely seeing that Honolulu is taking control of this Prime Spirit Pit. It's lit up like a Christmas tree. Microcosm definitely knows that they're on there, knows exactly where they are, but wasn't able to make a inroad into that Prime Spirit Pit. But we're seeing over in the off lane now, Adele and Grux going up behind Aurora while she was free pushing while everyone was on the other side of the map. Grux is now taking a lot of damage. Grux is very behind, but we'll see what happens here in just a second.
Yeah, and HP12 here looking to get to the disengage with the dash, but the ice wall going to be stifling that, as it is very much so a large lead that has been built as far as junglers go. HB12 on level 5, not yet having access to that ult. However, it's going to be looking to take some degree of the lane farm, while within the duo lane, we are going to see a little bit of an action, some poke underneath the tower, but the story and the tale as old as time is going to be the Conte rotation here. Behind tower, does he get picked up? And that is looking like he possibly might be, now readying up the knock-up if he is going to be getting an engage here from behind the tower, as it is going to be Bash and Stugs in combination with Random, who are going to have to hide under tower. The use of the stun is going to result in the Conte with ult being able to just delete the carry. Now a stun coming out is going to prevent him from being able to dive as easy, but the result is still going to be the same. It's going to be Conte getting a double while over in the far lane. It is now going to be a trade, as Skulo is going to be picking up a kill on the mid laner for the opposing team, as one member of Honolulu falls and 3 for the opposing team do. It is going to be a kill advantage as well as an objective one going over to the world reigning champs in Honolulu.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we talked about in the early game, that we really want to see this Sparrow start to thrive early on as fast as possible. And so we're seeing Conte come in, help those ganks, make sure that they already encourage the lead she's already getting in that lane. And with the early kills that Conte was able to get on that Grux, he's really snowballing this game and helping his team really succeed.
Yeah, man, and I mean, this is what they do. They pick it up and they don't let it fall. They got the first kill. They got an invade, got another kill off of it. Mid laner also was able to pick up a kill. Conte has the lead, and that is everything Honolulu wants to do. That is a very large part of their game plan, not only by giving them additional pressure and lanes to gank with their jungler being fed or at least being ahead, but that also changes the value of the smite. And as we see over into the far jungle, even when Grux tries to just farm, trying to get himself to level 6, they have deep wards within that jungle, forcing him to take the farthest back camps that he can to maintain some degree of safety, because he knows as well as them that he is within invade territory despite it being his jungle. And we're going to see just that, as Conte is going to be making a rotation over. That is going to be a dash forward into a sword throw and a diving onto HB12. All it takes is an instant. Now Skulo looking to make the rotation for his team. It's going to be put into the corner, as it is going to be Jay picking up another kill here onto the Adele, and very quickly dispersing, as these teams have have an understanding that it is not only the kills, but it is going to be the lane farm, which makes a difference. Preserving the wave is going to be the ice statue here coming out of Finir, and allowing them to just take the solo while within the far lane. It is going to be the combination of Bastion as well as Random applying pressure to the duo lane.
Yeah, absolutely. And this goes back to a conversation we were having yesterday, actually, Cordy, Ego, and I was talking about how Kwang can take over a game. A good Kwang can make the difference by himself for his team in success or failure. And we see Conte got picked up those 2 early kills and has just been turning that into a bigger and bigger lead for himself, but also for his team. Being able to constantly invade HP 12 on Grux, being able to take these underlings in Spirit without much contest from Microcosm means that they can really push that lead and extend it as much as possible.
Yeah, man, and it's something that, you know, is very tough, as we are going to see a rewind here middle. Is going to be the forced proc here of the Protection Karma in order to preserve the life of this Gideon. However, at this stand, is it going to be preserved as that poke damage comes up pretty immense now, forcing the Gideon out of lane. Bastion Snugs on the rotation to the mid is going to show face up, try to preserve that tower as the other 2 have fallen mid. The last man standing, while on the opposing side, it is going to be the towers for their team in Honolulu that are looking really healthy here as every lane is pushed. And one thing that I would like to point out for the viewers at home who may not know, Kwang is hands down the most technical character within this game, having phases in which his auto attacks can be skipped in order to secure knockups in his strings is vital, and we see it's always executed near to perfection if Conte is going to be the one piloting it. I'm not saying this game is over, because it is for sure not even 15 minutes on the clock and only 1 objective down. Microcosm has a lot of life in their lungs, but a question has to be asked, and that is, how do we shut down this Kwang? Not necessarily in kills alone, but also in the farming department, as long as he is ahead, they're going to be able to apply so much pressure, Jelly, as we're going to see here within the mid lane. A forced teleport out may not be enough, as it is now going to be Aurora going to utilize that jump over onto the other side in order to create a degree of space. There's going to be the Guardling dropped here within the mid as the teams try to get some degree of poke damage down, but it almost feels guaranteed that this mid tower, in combination of the pressure from this Kwang as well as Aurora, is going to fall, and as it does, that is going to be a grouping here coming out of response here from Microcosm, who do not want to see that mid inhib take any more damage than it needs to. But
ooh, Adele actually teleported from the offlane. She got chased off by the Sparrow into the Spirit. It was backing, but the whole rotation from the team Honolulu over onto Spirit made it that Adele could not escape. But speaking of the different sides of the teams, that yes, we definitely saw that while Microcosm has a good early game composition and was able to have the chance to take it there, they will fall off in the mid game, but their comp also does come back into the late game as well. They're going to be a team that can bring this back as long as they just hold out long enough, because they do have that Adele, they do have that Drongo, they do have Grux that can provide a lot of support for themselves. But we're seeing this fight break out in the Spirit pit. Spirit does go down to Team Honolulu, but we're going to see what happens here in just a moment.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big ult here coming from Grux, looking to utilize some degree of damage. It is going to be a silence. However, the silence is not going to be able to stop the auto attacks, as we are going to see both members setting up the defense fallen. It's only going to be a matter of time before Random dies. That is so random death. It is not a coincidence. It's a play, it's a tactic, as Honolulu is going to send 3 members of Microcosm to the gray screen. HNL here is playing like they have no worries. So says the name, and so says Conte. Now looking to get an invade off here within the lane, allowing it to instead go to Jay, who's going to be picking up the blue buff, not only for the mana, but the additional shield here before a reset from both of these teams. Pivoting over to you, I gotta ask, Jelly, you're the coaching seat. I like the whistle, looks very good on you, and unlike Cordy, I think you're gonna pull the stripes off very, very well. If you're gonna be the coach here for MCM Microcosm, how and what do you tell them to put them back in this game?
Yeah, absolutely. You really got to tell them that they got to hunker down. They got to play this defense. They got to turtle a little bit. Make sure they're keeping those inhibitors up. They have no more towers left in their lanes. They've missed almost every objective. They don't have any spirits. They didn't get underling. They didn't get any of that. They got to turtle up a little bit. They got to take the right fights for themselves. Don't fight on Honolulu's terms. Fight on Microcosm's terms. Get that Adele in the right position to get a good stun off. Like we're seeing here, Conte going in solo effectively, but all of Microcosm's backing off. They do know where the other team is. So great. Everybody's on this right side of the map. Now Microcosm needs to use that Drongo and Grux to push down that dual lane tower and slowly build that advantage back up for themselves.
Yeah, man, and it could be so painful kind of having to go through that process, forfeiting everything, but you're now playing a game of not what can I take, but what can I have when this lead has been developed for the other side, as it is going to be Conte teleporting on to the other side, the utilization of the ult, as well as the silencer coming from Skillo, and as well as the big Decker Cage may result in a shutdown here, as it is going to be Skillo who is staying alive, over the top. It is going to be DK Royal with a big ult that is going to have to, however, without the damage to back it up, it is going to be a forced kill here coming out of the other team, as everything seemed to be coming up here from Microcosm within this moment. But now with the use of not only the silences, but the engage coming from the other team, it is going to result in a little bit of an Uno reverse card. This is going to be a double kill going once again in favor of the Conte crew in Honolulu, as they're going to let loose some of the pressure from that right side.
And I think that we just witnessed a little bit of a communication breakdown on this team for Microcosm, that we saw DK Royal go in on Gideon, but his whole team was backing out. We didn't have a reason for them to go back in there, as we see the Decker fall as well.
Yeah, man, it has to hurt so bad. Seconds away from perfection. You know that Conte has big bounties. Speaking of which, that is one thing that can be huge, a large stepping stone in putting this team in Microcosm back into the game, and that is going to be getting up the singular kills and bounties. The lowest bounty on this team is 150 and 500 for near everyone else, with the exception of Jay, who has fallen. But 7 on the Conte is holding 750 gold, 500 on this Sparrow, and another 550 on Finner. Granted that Aurora is going to be a much harder takedown than some of the others, and they were near there in order to get that lockdown onto the Kwong. The use of not only the silence, but the ult coming here out of Skilo in combination with the Decker Cage was seconds away from getting them a big bounty to put them back into this game. And with Conte being down for an extended period of time, maybe taking back some of that map pressure, being able to clear just your side jungle so you can develop some type of an equilibrium and lead maybe that into a lead in itself. But the team just came to his herald. They were there the moment they needed him, as Conte had the follow-up that led in him being able to survive. The combination of the shielding as well as the disposition coming out of the Aurora just came up to be too much for Microcosm to be able to lock down that kill, as we do see the Wraith ult is utilized. However, to no large fruition. We are going to see a grouping here into the far lane as they're going to be looking to push up. You can see this team in Microcosm has come to the conclusion that they cannot be alone. Too many times have they been picked, and now making the adjustment on the fly to travel as a pack, such as the team in Honolulu has been doing.
Yeah, we're creating the Microcosm meatball here, where they're just roaming around as a 4 stack, making sure that if somebody's going to show up out of the jungle to take them on, they have to fight all 4 people at the same time, while DK Royal is playing a little bit more of that defense, keeping those inhibitors alive. But Microcosm's trying to get back into this game. They're trying to find farm wherever they can. Honolulu's doing a great job of fighting them off of any minions they can in their own jungle, but Honolulu will also pick up the Prime Underling here, which will give them good inhib taking potential here.
And with each one of those down, I mean, to be honest, 16, 17 minutes into the game, inhib taking potential is not something you want to hear coming out of the opposing team, as it is now going to be HB12 who is going to be caught out within that instance, looking to get to the ledge in order to maybe make the dash across the safety. That Fog Guy relatively near, but with this team having access to Rewind as well as the various CC from this Muriel, from Aurora, if you're not instantaneous on the calls, you're going to get caught out by this team. They don't only have CC, but a lot of displacement for whenever you do make the wrong call, whenever you do overextend, even just slightly, as we are going to see another Wind Spear going over in the favor of this team in Honolulu. Very much so prioritizing kills, however, even more so prioritizing objectives, as the world champs are very aware that every single stack of that spirit is so much more valuable than even an ace onto the other team. Now it is going to be a rewind onto the Gideon, as he was using the teleport to try to get away. A forced use of the blink now within this instance in order to just get away from the pressure that is being presented by this team. One thing to keep in mind here is with now 3 stacks of that Wind Spirit, the team in Honolulu has 12% movement speed, 12% CDR, cooldown reduction for those who may not be as familiar, as well as 12% attack speed. And Jelly, I don't know about you, but the last thing I want to see on a Sparrow on the opposing team is an additional 12% attack speed. That's a lot of damage that's going to be coming up, as we are going to see some degree of a confrontation that is going to result in a death here of the Drongo on the opposing team.
Yeah. And like you said, the stacking idea of this really benefits a lot of Honolulu's characters, right? We're seeing the CDR come through for someone like Aurora is going to be massive because her being able to constantly keep control with her abilities just fantastic for them. Muriel's shields, which leads into stuns, also super helpful. Knock knock from Wraith, also a big one that we're going to need there, right? We've also got Kwang and Sparrow getting that attack speed and move speed benefit, which limits the need for like a Spirit's armor on Sparrow. But we're going to see the Muriel go down. She gets picked off by a lot of CC chained together, but the big prime will go down and we'll see this turn into a fight.
Yeah, and it is going to be a Blink ult here, which is going to lock down not only the jungler, but as well as the mage. Now it's going to be Bastion Stunts looking to get active here within the team fight. However, the damage is way too lopsided within this instant. There's such a gold lead with the dropping of the Prime Guardian. It is a little bit overkill, as it is going to be multiple members now falling one by one on either one of these teams. Now Sparrow only making the rotation with the double kill in order to not only pick up an inhibitor, but a couple lives, 20 seconds on them being able to get back up from the carry standpoint. Another 25 for the tank here and Adele. It is going to be each one of these inhibs one by one getting picked off within this instance. The world champions just reminding people why they are so. A dragon could result in a big pick here. However, the shields from Muriel are coming up big and the teleport out. Conte singing his favorite song, and it is Staying Alive, as it does look like an engage onto the backside, but a drag here from Grux and an ult here coming from the Kwang may lend itself. They'll be able to survive. There is so much shielding coming from this Muriel, and with the mitigations that it affords, there's going to be no way to break it and teleport in. Hey, I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me, as it is going to be Conte, the captain of Honolulu, playing a game of dancing chairs around this team in Microcosm, as it is not going to be one, not two, but three members who fall. Honolulu coming up big in the team fight.
I'm sorry, that was just the incredible execution and working and communication between Kwang and Muriel. The fact that we saw Conte down to about 150 health for the majority of that fight, but still thriving and surviving, going in on 3 people with his Kwang because he knows Muriel's got his back. He's got no worries in the world. That was just an incredible display of skill from those teams.
Yes, indeed, man. And dear Lord, you have to just be so frustrated, not only as one of the players on these teams, but even as someone who's gone through it in themselves, shield after shield after shield. You can see that health pool just beyond the threshold of being taken down. However, it is not enough damage to pierce through it. It's not enough damage with the combination of mobility, mitigations, and shielding that this Kwang and Conte is going to have in order to break through a lot of these team fights, a lot of these engagements. And with the combination of poke, you're never going into a fight full HP, as it is going to be right there. Bastion Snugs getting reduced to sub 5% on the HP, and the core very well on its way, as it is going to be dropped to sub 15%. A big ult here coming from Gideon over the top side is not likely to preserve this game 1, which is going to go in favor of Honolulu.
Absolutely, and we just saw there that Honolulu took the lead initially, and like we said in the pregame, they took that lead and just built more and more lead on top of it. They would not give HB12 a moment to breathe in his own jungle on that Grux. They would not let Microcosm get any inch of room back into this game, and they just kept on pushing and pushing it down. Wonderful display from Team Honolulu.
Yeah, man, 100% there. And it can be a little bit tough here. You are within the first round. You're a team that's relatively new, not only to the league, but to the competitive scene. You have made some really good strides. You have won some very solid games. However, the fact of the matter is, we called what was going to happen previous to it if they allowed Kwang to get the lead, if they allowed Conte to be able to get and maintain that lead. And that is exactly how they were able to execute. And an early pick onto the Grux, lending itself to now invades happening early. And the worst case scenario, not only did you lose your red, not only are you going to lose your 3 count, you're also now losing the life of your jungler, who was taking that engage. And in follow up with the mid laner from Honolulu, also the life of your mid laner. Now they're getting a lot, monumentous value out of what could have been 1 kill, now turning into 3 and a successful jungle invade. Cordy, from the outside, man, you had a lot of viewing time. What was your breakdown of that game?
Just great team play. We talked about it again. It's a more newer team for Microcosm. It's a newer players kind of getting together. Individually, they're good, but newer team there. And for Honolulu, again, regarded the best team. The players that they have been on the top 2 teams for the longest time in the leagues. Yeah, just really great play. And then, man, just Muriel's nuts.
Dude, Muriel's there.
I mean, that was just a beautiful display. We saw that really Honolulu took advantage of the fact that when you take that Prime Guardian, it deactivates the towers and the inhibitors for Team Microcosm. They pushed that advantage. Microcosm started that team fight. They thought, you know what, we've right next to our towers, we're safe, we're fine to go. But with those towers down, the second that team fight broke out, Honolulu pushed them under their towers, and the towers didn't help them at all. So they just kept falling one by one by one. And we just saw that Honolulu took over, took those 3 inhibs, reset, and ended the game. Just incredible work.
Yeah, buddy. And one thing that does have to be pointed out is we saw this team attempting to make a lot of plays to put themselves back in the lead, making a lot of plays that lend themselves to being able to slowly crawl back in. However, it's so difficult to do when this team, as you pointed out, Cordy, has so much synergy. They may have made a couple new additions to their team, looking to get a little bit stronger, as we like to call it, calling the Avengers up for this tournament. But I mean, you couldn't tell throughout that match. There was so much presence. There was so much chemistry, so much team play. I mean, dude, that Muriel Kwong combination clip is going to exist in Paragon the Overprime for the rest of time. That was just... It was insane, man.
It was crazy. Like, that was a really insane play to me. But the other insane play was when Mira was just shielding Adele's ult, which does true damage. And just like, we don't have any counter to shields yet, so it's so strong. If Mira can get to like mid to late game, her shields are disgusting.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think something we're actually seeing in this damage charts that you've got up, Ego, is that while the stars of the show for Team Honolulu were definitely the Conte on Kwong and then Sparrow on Sparrow, we definitely saw that there was a lot of damage coming out of Wraith. Wraith did their job beautifully. Top damage in the entire game, and without many kills to show for it, but Wraith was always there, landing those right clicks, making sure that they're damaged, and from a distance that they can just be like, okay, we'll engage whenever we're ready. Let Wraith poke them down in the meantime, and then just wait for that to go down. And it was just an incredible display from all of Team Honolulu.
Yeah, man, and truly, you can't ask for anything like that. Was near a perfect game for them, man. Me and Cordy have previously compared this team of Honolulu to someone like the Jade Dragons from the Smite competitive team. They are going to be aggressive early, and if they are able to play their game, if they're able to pick up those kills, you are now on your back foot for the rest of the game unless you can stop that train of just damage, that train of oppression, and they are just going to play behind it, but also play with so well their team captain and Conte. However, ladies and gentlemen, that was game 1, and we got not only another game of this set, possibly 2 if Microcosm is able to make some adjustments to push it to a game 3. But after that, we got another 3 sets for you. It's only day 1 of the T-On Invitational. So do not go anywhere, because we're going to be right back here with you after an extremely brief break. Don't worry, predictions will be up, and the question will always be the same. Who do you got? Game 2. Ego, Cordy, Jelly. We'll see you here soon.
Chemicals in my head don't work as yours, 'cause every piece of road is a little bit of happiness. Every kind of love causes a little bit less regret. Please strike me thunder.
is over. I'm scared to ask these questions, cause I know that you'll reject my love. Moving slower, frozen to these pieces without a shoulder to cry on. And I will only climb the mountain without your goodbyes, cause you're my life. If I fail and crumble, would you help rebuild this downfall and change the color of my walls? I never wanna hold you back, I wanna give you every chance, and I'll stand against all enemies, your enemies. I'm afraid if our love collides, you'll leave me alone tonight, cause I'm changing and I'm breaking, but I'll still be your superhero. I'll be a superhero. But I'll still be your superhero. I'll be your superhero.
Gamers, we are back. I'm gonna need to see a little bit of hype in this chat. I'm gonna need to see a little bit of activity because that was only game one. Honolulu versus Microcosm. Honolulu winning in a very convincing fashion. You gotta give credit where credit is due. The world champs came out to play, and play they very much so did here. Microcosm gonna be looking to make some adjustments here within this secondary game. And as we're gonna be looking to get ready here relatively quickly, before we hop in, you know, I gotta touch on the guys who are rocking with me here today. The casting booth, it's gonna be me, your guy Ego, trying to stay as overpowered as I possibly can. But these two, they're my battery. They keep me all charged up. To one side, I got Cordy, and to the other, JellyKnees. Guys, give me a little bit of a breakdown of what changes you would like to see Microcosm make here within the next game in order to put themselves in the driver's seat and in a winning position.
It's got to be that early game. The early game, it started up so fast, rotating early mid, getting that kill, getting another kill, kind of invading, getting the evade start, and then sort of just keeping that ball rolling of killing, invading. So it definitely is going to be the early game. We talked about it. Honolulu is really good at just early game pressure and snowballing. So they can, you know, position correctly in the early game and kind of get some levels to try to stay ahead or try to stay on float. That'll be like the early start there for them. Best
Yeah,
start.
absolutely. And I wonder if we start seeing some of these more defensive picks coming out from Microcosm, that they went a little bit aggressive on that early game side of things and it didn't pay off for them. So maybe we see them go full on, that they go like, you know what, we're going to play for ultra late game, really push it back, delay ourselves, keep wards up, keep vision, make sure we know what's going on from Honolulu side, and we'll just keep the game going until it gets into our favor.
Yeah, man, and that is something that I'm not only hoping to see, but I expect to see almost out of this team. We tried to play a little bit aggressive. We did get overextended at some joints, which led us to giving up some early kills, which led us to giving up the pressure. And as they were able to utilize that, we just weren't able to maintain the defensive side. So I am expecting to maybe see a little bit more heavy wardage here between the early phases of the game, keeping an eye out for Conte, or possibly even just a Kwong ban outright. I wouldn't allow it in again. I wouldn't allow it again, and I get the concept of the throwaway ban. However, if you're not going to be picking up that Kwong yourself, I'm not letting you have it. You've proved your point of how potent it can be. You've proved your point of how destructive it can be in combination with Muriel. Guys, this is the last time I'll talk about it. Cordy, you're right. Muriel, she's giving out health bars.
Yeah.
There's no item you can build to counter it at the moment. So if that Muriel shield is on you, you're hitting the disco finger up and then finger down, staying alive disco moves, because
we
it's
saw
insane.
it come through in this last game from that Muriel Kwong play, right? It's going to be a great clip. It's going to go around a bit for sure. But at 150 health going into that 1v3, he was able to leave with 3 kills under his belt because of that Muriel throwing out health bars, throwing out those shields for himself. And it just shows how powerful that is. I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Kwong ban, but I think even more so, we're going to see a Muriel ban come through from Team Microcosm.
Most definitely.
Microcosm has the second option, so it'd be interesting to see what their first pick's going to be. Our first ban's going to be, and then try to maybe either counter pick, because I know Random does like to play Muriel as well. So we could see them picking up the Muriel pretty early on if they do have the chance to get Muriel.
Most definitely.
For both of you guys, I want to hear, like, where are you thinking these bans are going to go? We talked about Kwong and Muriel, but do you think there are any other options on there that should be taken into consideration?
Kwong doesn't make it into this game, hands down. I don't feel like the Kwong can be allowed to be in Conte's hands. He has a lot of picks that we've seen him be good on. Kwong, we've seen him be amazing on Severog, but that in itself, the combination of damage, the combination of mobility, the combination of CC built into his auto chain, and we know that Conte is going to be mechanically hit the phases necessary to cycle it, to always have that knockup when he needs it, is too much. And with the build pathing that we saw out of him, just getting down that mask and then building into damage, that mutant Poe coming up so large with the damage, he gets rid of one of the weaknesses of running a warrior or tank jungle, and that's going to be clear time. There wasn't really time to invade, because by time DK was able to peek his head in, those Kemps were already gone and he was on the other side. It's just absolutely insane, and I don't think Kwong makes it into this game.
Yeah, I think we do see the Kwong ban. As far as the ban on the side of Honolulu, honestly, it could be just another throwaway ban. They did a throwaway ban with Wukong. I don't think they're really scared of any particular hero or any character in the game. So I think they can do another throwaway ban just so they can, solidify that they get a good pick at the #1 overall pick.
Yeah, I mean, a ban that I think Honolulu could definitely utilize, looking at the stats from the last game, is that Adele ban. That we saw that even though Microcosm was behind, Adele had almost twice the amount of damage for her team compared to anybody else. And that was while they were behind 22 kills by the end of the game. So I think a Honolulu ban on Adele could also be beneficial, because that gets rid of that power pick for Microcosm that gets them into that late game stage as well that we talked about earlier.
Yeah, man, and I feel like we've touched on most everything that we can here, gamers, and I mean, we know what we're looking at. We know where we are going to be staring down here, ladies and gentlemen. Game 2. Game 2. Can Microcosm come up big enough to push it to a Game 3? Cordy, Jelly, I know we're fans of the Game 3. I know we're big fans of all the tension. All the other games don't matter. We're ready to get it rocking right here and right now. And as such, I think it's about time. We're going to do one last check-in here with the teams. And as everyone's put their points up, it does look at Honolulu with the lead. And we are going to be making our way, ladies and gentlemen, into the draft phase here for Game 2, Honolulu versus Microcosm. Let's see if our predictions come up right. I feel like they are.
Yeah, so we got so the bans that we get, because there's only one ban that each team can get, right? But everyone's, even in the chat, they're throwing out bans. We got Revenant ban, Muriel ban, Adele ban, like even like the Kwong ban. Even maybe they want to do a Severog ban. There's so many things that they can't ban out. So it'll be interesting to see what they actually choose. And I think the Kwong is gonna be the overall, because Random likes to play like I said, likes to play the Muriel. So if they ban the Kwong, maybe they get a chance to get in the Muriel on their side.
And one thing that I also do want to bring up is, there is only one ban as the game is going to continue to get more characters, and I do believe we are going to at least have the option of a secondary ban, which I think can be important because there's so many characters that are good, and there's so many characters that players are good with. So with only one ban currently, there's not really space for specialty bans where you would like them to be. There's no space for being like, okay, we know Blub loves the Sparrow pick. We got to get rid of that with a high top ban to make them a little bit uncomfortable, and then we can flex our secondary ban into something else. And with that in mind, it kind of allows the structure to be a little more flamboyant or a little bit more flexible, I mean to say here, as we are going to see a Decker band here off the top of the rip, and in response coming from the other side, the Kwong ban, as we anticipated. That we can't let it in. You get to stay outside.
Now this is gonna be a Muriel.
We're gonna see what the first pick comes through as, but I would imagine we are gonna see a Mako support then. With Decker taken off the table, we're gonna see Mako come in here, which could be beneficial or very detrimental for one of these teams, depending on the composition around him.
And we're seeing here, off these first top two picks, Muriel as well as Zadell, big shield energy, a little bit of a ban in itself by taking it away from the opposing team, seeing how well utilized it was last time, but it is not free. The cost is going to be a big pickup, and that pickup's name is Revenant. There's more. And what is he talking about? He's talking about damage. And on the lock-in secondarily for this team is going to be Steel. I love Steel. I love Steel. Steel, oh, so good.
He's great. And a Belka. I'm surprised they didn't go Mako here.
Yeah, man, a little bit of healing. However, after the nerfs, maybe some teams just aren't prioritizing as much. I've talked to you previously, Cordy, as well as Jelly. EU puts a lot of priority, a significant amount of priority on this Steel. He is such a good engager, the CC to keep people locked down or displaced, as well as the shield, which a lot of engages or anti-sieges can help you wearing a little bit of damage that you could normally, just have to face take and hope your healer can heal it back up. However, foregoing a healer, they are going to pick up Belka as well as Steel. And Jelly, Belka, I mean, get on the ground. She means get in the ground. That damage is huge on the ult.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked earlier about there not being really a counter to shields in the game right now, but if there's one counter to everything, it's CC, and their team is looking to stack up as much of it as physically possible. I mean, they've got the Steel, they've got the Belka, they've got FaZe now that just got locked in, they've got the Assassin in Xena plus Revenant, whose damage is just insane. They're just going through with CC and Control, and then they'll let their two big damage dealers just take everybody out from there.
Now, Cordy, that Xena lock-in, lastly, man, now with the composition complete for Honolulu, what do you think? This team is spitting damage. It is. I'm seeing a lot of we want to hurt you on that team. Revenant, Belka.
Okay, I was waiting for the swaps. I was curious what was happening here because I was looking at we have a destruction. We have two destructions right now.
They wouldn't. They wouldn't.
Oh, there we go.
Okay. Wait. There's still two destructions on this team. Guys, are we going to see double smite here coming out of Honolulu?
Okay.
All right. We're good. Had me pressed a little bit there for a second. I'm like, that's bad in every way.
Something we're seeing though in this is there are 5 pains across 10 people in this game.
Yeah.
And that karma is just showing itself to be a absolute force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, buddy, man. And as we are not going to be hopping in, Cordy, thank you much for hanging with us. Jelly, are you prepared for Game 2 Honolulu Microcosm FTM Overpowered T-On Invitational? I'm going to hit you with it again, man. Early game. Not character this time, player-wise, and specifically for Microcosm, who needs to come up big to prevent what happened last game from happening this one?
Yeah, I think HB12 really has the most to prove and the most to lose in this game. That they showed that if they get HB12 behind, they can roll the rest of the game around. So it really doesn't matter from there. all they can do is get that figured out.
Is this going to be a 5-man invade right off the rip? They're not quite prepared for it, as they do have there looking to keep an eye out. However, Random is going to be looking to get caught out there, as it may be just a dive. It is going to be a pain over the top end, and the Bellica bomb is going to allow them to secure a kill there off of the rip. You saw they kept their eyes open for it. However, it was not nearly enough, as they are looking to now apply pressure to that red buff. We all know the play. We all know the game. It is give Conte a lead, and every member of this team is willing to give up every piece of CS they could have in order to do it. As we see is such, every lane is going to get some degree of a lead, and HB is going to be over on the other side of the map, taking his blue, while it is going to be 5 members of Honolulu getting a level 1, as I like to call it, a level 0 invade onto the enemy team, not only picking up a kill, but also the red side buff.
Yeah, absolutely. And we saw that 4 members got an assist, and then we got the Bellica getting the kill. And I think for anyone to get the kill this early on, Bellica is a great option for that. Bellica needs that little bit of boost in the early game to make herself consistent and stay alive. But in the mid, we're actually seeing something go down, a gank coming through, but a blink out from the Gideon, so we're all good there. But Bellica getting that kill, again, is going to be a great thing to get her moving in the game, but all the assists keep everyone else involved as well.
And we are going to see now that early damage coming up huge. A blink in pursuit is going to lead itself to Bash and Snugs getting annihilated. However, on the back end, it is going to be Kiwi very low. However, the damage is not going to be coming up that large here. Coming out of Random on this Muriel pick. Revenant, once again, there's more, as it is going to be the Cowboy looking to collect himself some bounties at this state of the game, increasing the kill lead to 3-0. And we expected there to be aggression. We talked about it in the post game, in the pre-game, and we knew that this team was going to be laying it on thick. However, I don't think this team or even us could have anticipated that thick a 5-man invade to secure a kill on the support and allow this phase to be able to push up and play a little bit more riskily, as it is going to be DK Royal being aggressed upon at this end. It is going to be a pain that is going to get used by him, and a protection in response will allow for the damage to be locked down, while within the far lane it's going to be the combination of a silence and Skulo hitting the S key, looking to get out, but the damage in the CC is coming up too large, as Zeta, as Conte is going to be able to get himself yet another kill. This team is running rampant, because as the kill is taken, it is immediately going to be an invade.
Yeah, and HB12 just had to leave that. He knew he couldn't support his offlaner at all with that Grux, so he had to leave. He's going to pick up some farm in the mid lane and heading off to the red side jungle. But the Xena Conte took most of the camps in here already, so really HB12 is back in the spot he was last game with no farm, nothing to show for it, and he's just got to work to get himself back into this game a little more.
Yeah, man, and the damage output at this level as a Grex, there's not as much you can do, especially having had been put behind, not necessarily just by the enemy jungler, but by the enemy team very early on, aware of such and aware of the damage and the invade likely to be happening. We did see him start on the blue buff, as it is going to be Bash and Snugs, who's going to get ran down by this Revenant. The phase pool preventing any option of being able to get a disengage, and as such, it is forcing bad trades out of this team in a Microcosm, and you have to know they're very aware the trades are bad, but one thing that can be comforting for this team is they scale incredibly well into the late game. Adele, in combination with the damage coming from Gideon from a safer range than Bellica, is going to be able to drop it, as well as the CC his ult is going to be able to provide, and this Muriel, who came up key for Honolulu, can come up big for this team in Microcosm. But the question becomes, can you get there? If so, how do you get there, JellyKnees? As before 5 minutes into the game, this team of damn near Vikings in Honolulu are looking to put you 5 kills down, as it is going to be an invade here coming out of Conte, dashing underneath the tower and looking to get a kill on DK Royal, who's going to be forced to use his blink in order to get out, as we do see Bellica is relatively pressed up to the tower and just a little bit of XP off of that ult on level 6, which would annihilate any remaining health bar of this Gideon.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing a battle break out in this dual lane that the Drungo got pulled in by FaZe and took half health of his damage that quickly in just a couple seconds from a couple of Revenant. In the mid lane, beautiful pickup by Bellica.
And on the backside, it's going to be Conte with the run down here. He does have that ult up, however, not utilized. It is going to lend itself to being a shutdown and kill here for the Gideon, putting this team in a Microcosm on the board. It's a little bit greedy here for Conte, not utilizing that ult within that instance, as Brooks sadly does fall, but at least you get something out of it. We do see the solo lane is also looking to turtle, letting that wave get built up to some degree. It is going to be the steal on level 6, and we're very aware that if this Adele is allowed to scale to the late game, they're going to be impactful on the engages that Steel is going to be choosing. However, in the duo lane, it is just non-stop pressure. It is not even just autos, it is the damage coming out of the abilities here on this Revenant. Sparrow only showing that he can play other things, and he can play them very well, as we are going to see now a rotation here coming from the solo lane. No war to pick it up, as it is going to be an ult on top of the Gideon. A knock-up onto the dash, resulting in a kill here for this team. A lot of resources being expended. However, with HB12 being under tower, it's going to be a dash as well as some shield that is going to look to guarantee him some semblance of survival over into the far side. It is going to be Zeta who's going to be looking to pick up a kill before she inevitably goes down. It's going to be Bash and Snugs picking up the kill in that way, as it is going to be a water spirit spawning within this game. 7 minutes in, no pressure being put on it, but very much so warded here from this Honolulu team. But you can already see, Jelly, how the tempo of what Spirit is very much changes. Not only the tempo, but the objectification, the prioritization of this team previously already on the objective. They see it as a water, and despite it being very good, they a lot instead, hey, we can go get Spirit, or we can apply pressure, we can kill them, we can put them behind by not farming ourselves, but by preventing them to farm. And I mean, 2 to 8 so far, it's working out very well for this Honolulu team.
Absolutely. And the thing I want to look at is the level discrepancy now between the two teams. We're seeing Honolulu, everybody at level 6 or higher, taking that first tower in the duo lane, but a fight's going to break out in the jungle. Zenit goes in. Conte 4v1 here in the jungle. Belica can't support him. He is going to go down here very quickly. Then we're seeing something interesting come out of Conte this game. He's playing a lot more aggressive, and needlessly so. That's the 3rd time he's died relatively for no reason. But we do see Belica pick up a kill on that Drongo. And in the jungle, we're seeing Revenant and FaZe fighting again.
And a pull back in, but a blink out here from the Revenant over to the side. Now it is going to be FaZe looking to stifle some percentage of the damage, while Belica is going to be able to secure a kill onto the Muro. That means your extra health bar is going to be down. A knock up here coming onto HB12 as well as the Droid Bomb is going to a lot of damage to fall, as Kiwi is going to be looking to pursue Buskula, playing defense for his jungler. Is going to keep him from being picked up onto the jungle kill, as they are now going to be looking to make a rotation out of that fight. A trade, however, not a positive one, as it's going to be a 2-to-1 in that instance, with Xena now falling. And we do see, as you said, Conte playing a lot more loosely this game, not quite prioritizing just applying pressure, but applying pressure to get kills. Every person on that team down is a good day for the Honolulu staff, allowing them to get invades, even if they're not successful, keeping the Scrux just on the back foot, as it is now going to be Jay, who's going to get hit with a little bit of a cheeky pull, keeping them from backing, but over into the far lane. Now Xena on the invade solo, only for an instance, as it is now going to be Steel looking to back them up. A smite utilized here in case this team here within Microcosm is going to be going for an objective. But at this instance, it is nothing but invades on their mind, as HB12 is going to be relegated to nothing else but the lane farm from the grouping out of this team.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're seeing that level discrepancy and that early lead given to Belica with that first kill definitely paying off here, that they're able to take these fights, be a little more aggressive, knowing that they have ultimates and that Microcosm did not in that last big team fight. They're going through now, farming up, they're setting up. They know that they have the priority in these lanes, that they can take their time in Honolulu, making sure that they've got everything set up the way they want it before they go for these objectives. But in the mid lane, we're seeing a fight break out. Belica gets picked up by HB12 and Gideon. Belica very low, 4 members in the mid lane. Belica will go down to HB12.
I mean, and that's what you need to do within these instances, right? You got to get the picks where you can get them, no matter the amount of resources that you have to expend. You have to be able to give your team some form of momentum, as it is now going to be a mild grouping here, as Gideon is going to rip the shield here off of Conte, now possibly looking for a re-engage. He is low mana, but enough mana to use that teleport in order to create some distance between him and the enemy team here, and Honolulu, who are now making a rotation out of lane and likely over to the Spirit, while within the far corners of the map, it is going to be HB12 looking to just farm himself back up to be able to get active within these fights. Right now, Conte 2-3-2 on the other side, a 2-2 HB12, definitely doing better than last game with some degrees of the invade oppression getting to him, but not nearly as much as previous, as it is going to be the Water Spirit that goes down. However, not for free, as it is going to be a trade of the far side tower that is going to go down now here in favor of this team in Microcosm, a grouping over onto the far side, as it is going to be the Prime Guardling, as we like to see it being danced around. But Conte showing face is going to start it, as that underling is going to be shredded to some degree. A team fight here within the jungle, led behind Finir. A lockdown here coming from FaZe is going to result in Muriel going down as well here, as Bastion Studs maybe just an overexpenditure of the weight, as the root does land an engage here coming from Skulo, just looking to burst down to whatever degree they can. The double going in favor of the Revenant here, as they're going to be looking to push up behind the fog wall. We do know they have some degree to get over, but now it's going to be Conte separated from the rest of his team, and no Muriel shows to be seen. A missed rock will preserve the life here of Conte, who's going to get an engage onto the back, as it is going to be a kill nonetheless, but a trade at the very least, as Skulo is going to be able to pick it up, as Revenant is going to be able to make extinct the Rhino Man himself in Grux. HB 12 at least committing some degree of damage to allow its team to get the trade. However, while this is happening, Bellica applying pressure mid will lock down that tower, Jelly.
Yeah, they're doing a great job of fighting a war on two fronts here in terms of Team Honolulu. Bellica was able to keep the pressure in that mid lane, get that tower down while they were still picking up kills and in the jungle and in the off lane. I do want to note the pickup for Sparrow only on the Claude Storm. I think this is a brilliant first item on Revenant. Means that he's got his 4 shots, he's able to stack that up 4 times, and then when that that item is fully stacked, he gains that burst of movement speed as well. Beautiful item for Revenant, especially when he's got a 6-0 lead like he does right now.
Yeah, man, and I mean, you know, 6-0 lead, right? That's the name of the game. It is huge. However, as such, the shutdown on him equally as much. Sub 15 minutes into the game, 1,000 gold on a kill can absolutely change the tempo. But with the aggression that they're playing with, it's much less getting to him and surviving the encounter from it. As we are going to see Bellica is going to be looking to get a chase down onto the Gideon, looking to tap his toes. It's going to be able to dance around the knockup as well as an ensemble of the damage. While within the far lane, it is going to be Skulo who's going to get an ult off on the Guardling here. It is now going to be Sparrow, only going to be forced to blink out. It is going to be the teleporter, which is up and instantly utilized here, coming out of Skulo, as it is going to be HB12 who is going to be able to secure the objectives, despite the fact that one member of his team does fall. It is much so a positive trade. However, Conte not quite done with this engagement. It's going to be looking to chase down from behind, but it is going to be a safe disengage coming from HB12 in combination with Bastion here, as both teams are looking to get a reset, as no more big objectives are going to be up. Jelly, pivoting over to you, man, and asking you a question here. What do you think the difference between Microcosm's play in this game and last game are? As they are behind, but not nearly as much so, and now actually evening up the objective lead by being able to take down that Guardian. We are going to see an engage here over to the side, a big pull here coming from the Grunts, as well as the follow-up of the Muriel damage. It is going to be an ult here from Finner, and a blink that is going to be utilized by Bastion Studs, but it's going to just hit the wall. Now a disengage from the side, as it's going to be Kiwi taking a surplus of the damage. DK Royal looking to create some space, as it is going to be Bastion now able to lock down a kill. It's going to be a Royale around the Bellica, as it is going to be a surplus of damage that is going to be dropped, as it is now going to be a dash in here coming from Conte, who is all but full HP over to the side. A double kill going in favor of the Bellica, who is just playing the space oh so very well. A reprioritization, as HB is basically having to 1v the Conte, and hope being utilized here now is going to result in that dash being reset. Looking to get over the top, he will, as Conte performs a magic trick, and Revenant makes a nightmare out of a dream scenario, as it is going to be a negative trade going in favor here of Honolulu.
Absolutely, and we saw there that Microcosm had the advantage in that early team fight in the jungle when they were taking on the Steel, but they burned so many resources trying to go after Steel and Bellica that when the rest of Honolulu rotated over, they were not able to keep up in that team fight any longer, and they just fell victim to their lack of resources. We're seeing Steel and Revenant now push down this Adele, but with the Revenant lead that he's got, he should be able to take this Adele down, no problem, and Adele just faces the facts and lays it down for Revenant right there.
Just looks at the math and goes, hey, guys, no mana, no HP. Muriel gives him the shield, and I'm not going to lie, I had to be looking at him like, why would you make me wait longer for this? As he is going to fall there. Man, a bad trade going for this team, as it is going to be 7-20 in the objective lead. However, tied at 15 minutes, just about, in this game 2 of Honolulu versus Microcosm. Jelly, can I get some of your thoughts on some of the changes we've seen Microcosm make overall, and how Honolulu have just stuck to this strategy of run it down, run them down this entire game?
Yeah, absolutely. I think early on, the Microcosm fell victim to the same thing they did last game. They weren't prepared early. They didn't have wards. They didn't know the full 5-man invade was coming in, but they figured it out afterwards. They got that wake-up call and decided, you know what, we need to play safer. They're taking better engagements. They're still losing them a lot of the time due to the lead from Honolulu, but they are taking smarter, better engagements that is leading them to have more kills and more more pressure this time around. I mean, picking up the underling was a great pick, even though it wasn't the best utilized just now. We're going to see them go down in the jungle, but they are trying to play that defensive game a little bit more. I think they started doing so just a little too late.
Yeah, man, and it's so hard, right, when you're like, okay, this game we're gonna play defensive, we're gonna wait it out, as we do see the damage is so massive coming out of Honolulu with this lead, 7-22, and looking to possibly extend it more. It's gonna be the silence utilized. However, the ult has already come out, and it is stifled by the CC of this team in Honolulu, as they're going to get not one but 2 picks here within the lane before backing off and being able to collect the water spirit onto the back tempo, as it is now going to be the Xena here and Conte able to take the portal in order to create some space for themselves. Big plays here coming out of Honolulu within day 1 of the T-On Invitational. And pivoting back to what you said previously, Jelly, I can't agree with you more, man. They did play defensive off the back. They had eyes watching. They didn't have the ward coverage on that lane, and that was the one mistake. And, you know, it's kind of a double-sided sword. Do we want to ward that forward bush in case they fight me in? I mean, what's the chances of them doing something like that early? And if we extend to this point, who's to say the phase in combination with the Revenant are not already set up in the bush? That has some degree of lethality itself, and it's just so hard to play defense when from the draft you're already being assailed upon against this team. Honolulu, man, I would say they're looking for the smoke, but right now they're looking like the chimney, Jelly.
Absolutely. And we talked earlier about like the lack of resources in some of these extended team fights for Team Microcosm, but Honolulu doesn't really have to worry about that. They have 2 water spirits now, each of them providing 3% regen of lost health and mana every 5 seconds. That's going to allow them to take these lengthier team fights without having to be concerned in the slightest about those resources.
Yeah, 100%, and it becomes also more difficult being like, all right, we need to get flash engages to lock them down, but then the other team is just flash engaging on you, as we see, and it just takes the blink of an eye, the closing of the temporals for a moment for you to be disappeared back to base. The gray screen 6 feet deep, as we are going to see a grouping here over to the left. However, if this team in MCM does not group, it might just be Honolulu ending the game. No one here quite tanky enough to tower dive. However, coming from the reset, it is going to now be the Prime Guardian coming up, and that's one facet that we haven't touched on as much as we have just the aggressive tactics. This is aggression, but aggression with a cause, as they're going to be looking to lock down a kill, lock down an objective, and then instantly pivot on the back foot to an objective, or even set up or loot the jungle on the back foot. They're not getting kills for the sake of kills. They're getting timely kills around the time these objectives are to come up, as we are going to see here. What looks to be a triple pull coming from the team. It is going to be a pain being utilized, and a little bit of a confused HB says, hey, gamer, what's all that about? As he is going to be playing the fog wall space while he's relegated to just having to watch his jungle get looted. It is going to be the combination of DK Royal here, who's going to be pushing up, as Skulo is going to be having to play the front line. Some damage is going to come off, but we are going to see it's not going to be nearly as huge, as Skulo is going to be getting the engage, and FaZe is going to just be bursting down in surplus of damage. The Muriel gets knocked up and goes up, but it is going to be the damage here coming from the Revenant that is going to follow suit. Conte here very low. He is going to be pained. He might be dead here on the horizon to the Karma. However, it does not look like so, but it is going to be Basher Stuck that is going to be able to get the last hits to secure the kill. Right now, it is a 2-2 trade. Not quite negative, but now made negative by the quick math coming out of Honolulu's damage. All I'm saying is those big numbers are starting to add up, and they're subtracting the members of Microcosm from the field, as they are now going to be forced to play defense around their core.
Yeah, we saw a weird engage there from HB12 in the jungle. He saw Revenant by himself on a jungle camp and went, you know what? I can take a Revenant. Started that out, and the whole team of Honolulu came out of the bush behind him and just created this terrible situation for them to start a fight on the wrong foot, taking down 3 members of Team Microcosm. But now Honolulu is on Prime Guardian, and they really are going to be able to take this mostly uncontested, it looks like. The damage from Revenant is going to be plenty. The tank from Steel is going to give them a health bar to use, and they're going to be able to look at this pretty strong.
Yeah, man, and you know, we did touch upon it previously. This has been a team that has played together for a long stint of time here, and you can see it pretty evidently as we are going to see multiple members of this team go up, and it is going to be DK Royal with the big ult over the top. However, does he have the damage to see it through? It is going to be the Grudge looking to get the engage, but it is too late. By a domino effect, one by one they engage, and one by one they fall in the worst possible instance, as it is going to be a triple kill going over in favor here of the Revenant. Sparrow only showing there's a lot more than damage backing this team up, as that middle inhib already taken down to the other two, very much so wounded. It's going to be Skulo, the lone man who stands. There's going to be a knock-up in combination with a shot, in combination with an ult, in combination with the gray screen, which is going to spell out more than likely the end of this game 2, as Honolulu might quite possibly end it here. Minions now on the objective. It is going to be 30%, 25 in engage here coming from the sides, as Revenant melts the core and melts the chances of Microcosm progressing within the T-On Invitational. Honolulu are going to take set 1, 2-0.
Absolutely. And we saw there in that last fight, Revenant wasn't counting bullets. He was counting kills. That's how he was tracking count of his ammo count there. He just 1, 2, 3, 4, bam, chase down the Adele, take the 5th kill, and just end the game there, which was beautiful play from Team Honolulu once again.
Yeah, man, and it's hard. It's a toughie to be lined up. You're like, hey guys, game 1 we have heavily considered the best game in the league. I'm gonna just throw that out there. I'm just gonna expand on that. That is what the reality is at this instance, and as such, I feel like they played it just about as best as they could within that secondary game. They did play the space. They did play it a little bit more safe. They kept the eye out on the invade and even sent 2 to make sure there wasn't even a Grux there to try and take that red buff as they anticipated it, but they pivoted over to blue. However, when you send 5 gamers over to the enemy side, you're able to get a kill within the opening minutes of the game. It doesn't bode well for that lane, and as such, Conte and the crew, Honolulu, were able to pick up a lead and just once again never let it go, cradling it very much so like a baby all the way to the finish line, as they have secured themselves a spot in the T-On Invitational semifinals tomorrow.
Yeah, and I love looking at these damage charts. I mean, we saw that first kill go to JellyKnees on that Bellica, and Revenant, of course, is showing really strongly with Sparrow only. But the damage charts show Bellica did 23,000 damage to heroes. She absolutely dominated this game with that early kill, was able to just keep pressure, keep damage. I'm pretty sure I didn't see a single one of her ultimates miss and not get a kill. So she definitely dominated her side of things on the map as well.
Oh man, 100%. Cordy, you were truly the spectator seat that game. You got to see everything from the bird's eye view as you would like to view it. I gotta ask you, man, what are your takes from that game and from this team of the Conte crew that we're gonna be seeing in the semifinals tomorrow?
Man, the early aggression. We know that Honolulu is a really aggressive team, but that game they turned up another notch. They were invading at level 1, 5-man invading, and just kind of just putting that pressure on a newer team that doesn't play a lot of the competitive. So putting them on that back foot right away, kind of whatever game plan they had going into that fight was kind of just thrown out the window because of the early aggression that Honolulu was bringing. So a little good strategy there from Honolulu just to keep that pressure and ride it all the way out through the entire game.
Oh yeah, man, hell yeah. So sadly, guys, we've been saying it every day leading up to this. 8 teams, but there can only be 1 winner. Congratulations to Honolulu for progressing to the semifinals, and Microcosm, thank you guys so much for coming out and playing. It takes a certain degree of courage, a certain degree of guts, and a certain degree of certainty and belief in oneself to come out and put yourself out in front of all of these players, in front of all of these viewers. The Paragon community, you guys are absolutely fantastic. Overpowered FTM, you guys have been amazing, and thank you so much for coming out today. However, I have some news for you. Oh, this is only the beginning. That was set 1 of 4 that we have for you up next. A little bit of a saucy one. It'll be me and Cordy casting, but Jelly will be here with us all the same to give us that eagle eye deduction after and before games. Up next, it is going to be Go Next, lining up against the Raylio squad here in the Core Defenders. It's going to be a good one. This one, however, on the EU servers, as we have a little bit of EU v EU action. We're going to take a brief break, but you know we're going to be right back. It's going to be Ego. It's going to be Cordy, and it's got to be Jelly here. Overpowered X FTM T-On Invitational, and we're going to be right back with you. See you soon.